Welcome to Next Time Around, brought to you by Powerverse, the podcast where we take on the big questions of the green transition and explore how the world is changing for a cleaner, brighter future. We're your hosts, Lauren Forster
and Richard Britton,
and we'll be diving into the tech, the policies and the big ideas that are reshaping industries and people's lives. Whether it's cutting-edge technology or shifting priorities, we're here to figure out what it all means for you and the world that we're building for tomorrow. So get ready as we take a fresh look at how changes today are laying the groundwork for a better next time around. Our guest today, Michelle Little, brings a wealth of experience from the energy industry, having served as head of commercial home services for a leading energy supplier. And with over 20 years dedicated to shaping the future of energy, Michelle has and continues to improve the industry for generations to come. In today's conversation, we'll be diving into the future of the electric home, exploring how consumer behaviour is changing, and the technology that is needed to drive these shifts. Let's welcome Michelle.
So hello, Michelle, and welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining us. We're really looking forward to finding out more about your experience and your understanding, because you've obviously played a major role in the energy industry in this country for quite a few years. Perhaps we can start by you telling us a bit more about your journey in the industry.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for having me here today. I've actually had a 20-year career in the energy industry. I initially started in an entry-level position, helping customers on the phones, and actually being really close to the customers helped me understand the industry and, more importantly, customers' needs. At the time I started, I was taking calls from customers who had prepayment meters, and there's a lot of challenges with prepayment meters for customers. And at the time, I was actually a student at university myself and also had a prepayment meter, so I could understand the customers really, really closely. And that led to me developing propositions that would help customers better manage their energy and have a better relationship with their energy providers by getting additional benefits. So I worked as part of a team that brought in the first ever non-standard tariff for customers who had prepayment meters. It hadn't ever been done before in the industry, and it gave customers choice, which is ultimately what people wanted, is they wanted choice. I think we as energy consumers ourselves could all admit that we want choice when it comes to our energy provider, the service that we get, and certainly the different benefits and features that you get from your suppliers. So being able to do that was the kind of start of my career, and it just went on from there.
Fascinating. And from there on, you went to take more senior positions, didn't you? And I guess experience the industry from lots of different angles.
Yes, and I've worked in a number of different energy suppliers within the industry. I think recent years, the industry has changed at a pace that has never been seen before. Technology is advancing the industry, and obviously the push to decarbonise homes is becoming increasingly important. We are in a climate crisis and we need to recognise that. And in order to help solve some of the climate change problem, we need to decarbonise homes, with heating accounting for some of the largest carbon emissions within the UK. So there's a lot to do. The pace of change and acceleration is exciting, and I've been working closely on some of those different products and propositions, and I am also a fully electrified home myself. So I think if you believe in something, you have to do it yourself. You have to experience it.
That's great that you really live by what you stand by. From the research that you've carried out as a consumer, looking to improve your home and become more green, what advice can you give to people who are looking to move towards an electric future?
So you said the research I've done as a consumer. The first thing I would say is research. I'm sure you would agree with that. If you're thinking about getting an electric vehicle, I'm not going to tell everyone that it's for them. Different people will have different needs. If you only have a short commute every day, you don't necessarily need an electric vehicle that has a super long range on it. But if, like me, half of your family live in Scotland and half of them live in England, then you need a car that's got a long range on it. So you really, really need to research it. I am a bit of a geek when it comes to these things. I spend my weekend test driving electric vehicles. So if you want to know which one to get, I could bore you to death with some of that information. But for me, it starts with research. Understand your needs, your family, how much you'll be driving, where you'll be driving to and from, to understand what the right vehicle is. As a female as well, I think it's really important that you also think about charging of the car and if you're going to be able to charge at home or if you're going to be using public charging. Because if you're driving at night and you're using public charging, some of these chargers can be at the back of car parks or in places that aren't convenient. So I would encourage people to think about, can they charge at home and how convenient they can make their charging for themselves.
That's a really good point you made there about the safety aspects of public charging and how charging at home might be a first preference for lots of people. But before any of that, you need to choose the right car, don't you?
Yeah.
So go on, which are the best?
I wouldn't want to get into which ones are the best. I know which ones I wouldn't get because I've test driven them. I recently test drove the new VW i4, which I think is really great. The new Porsche Macan 4 is also a really great car. It's got a super long range on it, over 300 miles, but it's a kind of SUV style, comfortable family car as well. And it's coming in at quite a good price point. So really interesting new development. I think the thing I would say to people is if they are looking to adopt an EV is look at cars that have been designed as an EV from the start and they've been built on an EV platform, because cars that are old types of models of cars that have been in the market for a long time that have been retrofitted with batteries to become an EV, they've not been designed in that way. And you'll see things like transmission tunnels when there's not a transmission and they take up space, or the floor's too high in the back of the car so it makes it uncomfortable. So again, get out, research, test drive and find out what's right for you.
I think you're coming up with a whole new category of hobby here. And encourage people to get out there and kind of grasp this new wave of change that's happening.
Well, I did say I could bore you to death with it, but I actually find it exhilarating. Yeah. I find it really interesting. And genuinely, my friends who have gone on and adopted EVs have come to myself and asked, what should I get? And I've recommended different cars to different people based on what I know about them, whether they have a large family, if it's just a single person on their own. And I do know people that have adopted EVs and they've not enjoyed them. And so I think it is important to do your research. We're not here to say it's right for everyone today, but I think for the vast majority of people, there are vehicles that will suit everyone's needs.
And generally, EVs tend to be the entry point into moving towards a green future within the home. Have you got any other devices within your home?
I have everything.
You have everything, the full stack.
Yeah, I do. And again, that if you believe in decarbonisation and you believe in the future smart home and electrification of the home, then you need to adopt these technologies yourself. So at home, I have solar panels, I have battery storage, I have an EV charger, and I also have a heat pump. So we're fully electric in our home. So
amazing. And what are the benefits of having all of that in your home?
I've seen a cost saving. So there's been quite a significant cost saving in the home. I also have a daughter. And for me, the benefit from this is knowing that I'm doing my bit to help change the world for the future and help decarbonise for the future. Children are increasingly concerned about climate change, and she talks about it. They learn about it at school. And so to be able to say to her that we've done our bit, we've decarbonised our home, we have an electric car, we have a heat pump and electric heating, we have solar panels. She's been really, really interested to learn about these technologies herself, and she's been really proud to actually go into school and talk about these technologies and go, we've just had solar panels installed and we've had battery storage put in, and she's become a bit of an expert herself in some of that technology. So hopefully
move over the teachers.
We can get her in, get her into the energy industry and help with the decarbonisation challenge.
There is a real lack of knowledge within this industry. It's an emerging space and it's quite a complicated space. So it's really important to get younger children talking about it so that they can take the right actions to improve it for the future as well.
Yes, absolutely. And as somebody that has worked in the energy industry for 20 years, it's really complicated. I've tried to explain some of this stuff to my own mother and she just doesn't understand it. She cannot wrap her head around why we'd want to charge a car rather than just go to a petrol station and it takes so much longer. She's quite happy with her heating and how it works just now and doesn't see a need to change. I've tried to convince her to get solar panels, but to no avail. However, people like my brother, who's younger, he's went and got solar panels and battery storage. So I think for people and the general consumer, it is really, really complex. And our role in the industry is to make it as simple as possible for people to adopt these technologies. And it's also to support people. It's not to educate people, it's to support people with the transition, because people do have questions and people will come and say, tell me about heat pumps. I've heard a lot about them. And to be factual, correct, there's a lot of misinformation out there about heat pumps versus hydrogen and things like that. And so being able to talk factually about the different products and technologies that there are in market and how they can help people decarbonise, save money is really, really important, and stemming that flow of misinformation that's coming out.
I completely agree. One of the things at Powerverse, which we talk about, is helping consumers unthink energy, which is all about the stuff you're describing there. I wonder what your thoughts are when you get out of those devices running in the home, the role that software has to play and AI has to play in helping customers to unthink energy, because making all of those things work together in concert and do the right thing for the customer isn't simple, and maybe systems can help.
It's the most important role, if I'm being honest. Energy and our relationship with energy has evolved and changed. Before, you used to turn a light on and you used to get a bill land on your doormat. That's how simplistic it was. Now, with all of the different products and technologies that are run and are fully electric, they all have different needs. And customers will find that they have different apps to run all of these technologies. So they will have an app for their electric car, an app for their EV charger. They will have an app with their energy supplier for the charging and the billing of energy. If they've got solar panels, they might have an app that shows them their solar generation. And then if they have a heat pump, they might have an app for that also. So it becomes, instead of just one app with one bill that you previously had before in your phone, you now have 7 apps to run your home. So software and AI is the thing that will make this work, because people don't want to have to manage 7 apps. And that point that I made earlier about, my mother, her having to think about running 7 different apps to control her home and the temperature of her home and charging her car, that's not for her, and she doesn't want to do something like that. But I do, because I'm a geek and I love that stuff and I'm really interested in it. But for the general consumer, they want to turn the light on. They want to walk into a house that's heated to the right temperature for them. They want to get up in the morning and their car's been charged and it's been done for them. So software and AI is the most important part of this transition to decarbonised homes.
I love the way you started to touch there on sort of the vision of what it looks like when it all works together. And obviously that's the challenge we've taken on. In the kind of the fully formed electric home in the future, as you've worked in these energy companies and you started to visualize that for yourself, where do you think it can get to? What do you think that experience around the home and in the local community might be when we're using kind of cleaner, cheaper energy altogether?
In terms of the future, I think self-sufficiency is a word that's coming through in the industry quite a lot. People want to have control of their energy and their energy consumption. We saw the impacts of high prices, volatility in market. So to be able to have some control over the energy within your own home is really important. So being able to generate energy yourself through solar, being able to store that in batteries in your own home, also being able to take energy from the grid when it's cheaper and cleaner to do so in the night and store that in your battery and then power your home with that during the day is absolutely the direction of travel. If you think about previously, energy companies used to just bill for a kilowatt hour, and it was all focused around the bill and the kilowatt hour and getting that accurate and estimating what people's kilowatt hour consumption would be. We're in a completely different place now, and we talk about the future, but actually we're already there and people need to catch up. They really, really do, because you think about all of these multiple products. I like to think about it in the way that if you used to buy a car previously, you would maybe get an offer that you'd get so many free miles and fuel for the year or something like that, or servicing. I think now if you take an electric vehicle, getting free miles powered from your home, from your energy company or whoever's installed your charger, that's the kind of innovations and products and propositions that we need to see coming through in market.
I completely agree. Consumers are becoming more self-sufficient and aware of their energy consumption, and they're wanting more choice. So what challenges do you think energy suppliers face here?
I think the larger energy companies need to think differently. I think in the past, they have always been focused on kilowatt hour and billing and accuracy of billing. They have large customer service teams. They have large operational teams. They have to think about metering and putting meters in homes, taking the reads from those meters, getting the billing accurate. Smart metering has helped tremendously with this. It has allowed the bills to be more accurate. We get real-time information from the smart meter to understand what people are consuming in their homes, and that's really, really important. I think energy suppliers really need to use that data, and they really need to look at the technologies that are in people's homes, because it's not just the energy consumption from their lights and their heating. It's now, the thing I always say is, if you think about someone that's got an electric vehicle, it's like putting the consumption of another home on your house. So if you have an electric vehicle and you do 10,000 miles a year and you get 3 miles per kilowatt out of your car, unlikely with the temperatures here in the UK, but if you do get 3 miles per kilowatt, that's putting 3,300 kilowatt hours of consumption onto your home if you're charging at home. That is more than the average consumption of electric in the UK for a 2 to 3 bedroom house. It's about 2,700 kilowatt hours is what the average house would consume.
So it's a remarkably big uplift that people are going to be billed for. I guess it's taking that economy from the forecourt, where they're putting it into the car as hydrocarbons and making it clean electricity. And I guess that's why they're also offsetting putting solar on their rooftops as well.
Yes, it's exactly that. So people don't always appreciate that when they do take an electric vehicle and they start charging at home, the significant impact that's going to have to their bills. And it is moving it from one place to another place. And that's where energy companies really need to stand up and help people with that transition. And the way to do that is through things like getting free mileage or intelligent electric vehicle charging. So in terms of the energy companies, how can they help people transition? They need to step up, provide people with the tools and the propositions to help charge intelligently at home, but also to give them really good offers on their charging as well.
So there's been a big uptake in the number of people who are purchasing EVs year on year, and we continue to see that growth. How do you think the energy suppliers can help support those consumers by providing them more personalised recommendations?
So when we were speaking earlier about choice and people having choice of energy supplier, I think this is where it's really important for the suppliers to get the choice that they offer to their customers right. I think for a market as a whole, to have a great range of choice for electric vehicle charging tariffs is really important, because the electric vehicle charging is now the biggest part of your energy bill when it comes to electric. So if you've taken on an electric vehicle, you've added more than the average consumption of a home onto your electric bill. So being able to have an intelligent electric vehicle charging tariff is really, really important. And that's where the energy suppliers can help. And when I talk about an intelligent tariff, that tariff is understanding the needs of the consumer when they're going to be charging their car at home, making sure that their car is fully charged for them when they need it, and doing so at the lowest, cheapest, greenest possible price for the customers, because otherwise it can be expensive. Some of the tariffs that are out there we see in market are as low as 5 pence, 7 pence. We've seen some really great innovation in this space, but there needs to be more, and there needs to be green, clean tariffs in market.
There's another dimension to this which maybe we can just touch on for a minute. You talked about the consumers benefiting from those green, clean tariffs. The grid can also benefit from these intelligent tariffs as well, can it not, in terms of trying to ensure that the load on the grid at any one time is being managed so that we can move to a cleaner future faster without infrastructure investments?
Yes, and I think demand side response is becoming increasingly important within the industry. If you think about 5 years ago, we had a very low market of electric vehicles in the UK. Now the market has grown significantly. Most people that have taken electric vehicles that are doing so are charging at home. And that is a lot of demand to put onto a grid that needs to transform and needs to revolutionise for the future, really. And so being able to support the grid as well with those intelligent tariffs is really, really important. So not charging between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. when the grid is overloaded and it's at its peak as everyone comes home from work and turns on their ovens and their cookers and starts to make dinner. So not charging cars in that period, but charging them at 2 a.m. when it doesn't matter, everyone's asleep. The consumption in the grid is lower, but your car is still ready for you at 7 a.m. when you're heading to work is increasingly important to help balance the grid, but also provide the consumer with a fully charged car first thing in the morning.
Absolutely. And Is it fair to say that the energy providers are getting charged by the grid, and even at a local level where there's particular constraints, for those charging time considerations? So it could be that they start to offer different pricing or offering charging in different regions at different times to help solve very local concerns on that level.
Yes, absolutely. And I think this is where software and AI will become really important for the future, because a customer is not going to understand that, well, between this period and this period at 1:30 to 2 a.m. I was charged 3 pence, and then between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. I was charged 8 pence because of what's happening in the grid. Consumers don't care about that. They just want their car charged and they want to know how much it's cost them. So this is where the grid, the suppliers and the consumer and that ecosystem becomes quite important. And at a local level, it's really, really important that the operators make this seamless. I've heard of people that have been waiting for months and months and months just to be able to get an EV charger fitted, or just to be able to get the sign off to put a heat pump in. And so making that process as quick and as easy and as adoptable as possible for people is really, really important. I actually know someone who purchased an EV on a bit of a whim in a garage showroom and has ended up returning it because in the end it's a year later and they've not been able to get an EV charger installed in their home. So this kind of infrastructure and ensuring that we're supporting people with the transition to these products and technologies is really important.
It's something we always say, life these days, everything needs to be convenient. If it's not convenient, people won't buy into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree with that. You can order and have something at your door the next day. We all get our takeaways sent to our homes. We all do that. So to think that you have to wait months and months and months to transition to lower carbon heating or to put solar panels on your roof is a bit flabbergasting, quite frankly.
So, Michelle, you've talked to us about some fascinating and frankly essential changes that need to take place within the energy sector, and the energy companies need to make those happen. And with all of the targets, they need to happen soon. So what do you think that these companies should be doing to bring about those changes as quickly as possible?
It's a really good question. I think for change to happen and for it to happen quickly, we need to look out at the market, and we also need to look at what our priorities are. So if your core business is selling energy as a retailer and billing customers for that energy, then you might not be able to transition as quickly because that's where your focus is. And so actually bringing new entrants into market that provide solutions that help people with technologies that have decarbonised their homes and running them efficiently and effectively is really, really important. So I think it's not one company that's going to solve this problem and tackle the transition. It's companies working together, it's ecosystems being brought together to support customers in the transition to decarbonised living, essentially.
Great answer, thank you. So our research tells us that 80% of people would like to charge their vehicles at home. I guess I'd be interested in your view on why that might be. Why is charging at home so important to people?
Yes, absolutely. And it is absolutely that case that people want to charge at home. There's many reasons. One is convenience. You get home, you plug your car in, it's ready to go the next time you leave your home. Nobody wants to go and sit at a service station paying for a coffee that they don't really want or need to have to sit and charge their car. And actually, it's much more convenient to do it at home. Myself, I had an experience recently where I went on a really long journey. So I did a 600-mile round trip. What was really interesting to me was when I looked at the bill at the end of that trip. So the first 200 miles of that trip, I had charged my car at home with an intelligent EV tariff. That cost me £5.60 to do so for those first 200 miles. The other 400 miles I had to do on the public charging network. The rest of that trip, that other 400 miles, cost me £195 to charge, which was really significant. So why do people want to charge at home? It's not only convenient, it is a lot cheaper to do so. And so to support people adopting EVs, charging at home is really, really important. But having those intelligent, low-cost tariffs and the software and solutions to help people charge at the right time is really, really important.
That's a very enlightening and very personal answer. So thank you for that. As part of that answer, there was something you mentioned earlier on, maybe just to touch on as well, which is the safety aspect as well as the convenience aspect. You mentioned particularly for women, and you talked about how these EV chargers haven't necessarily been put in public spaces that are well lit and easy to get access to. Maybe we just touch on that a little bit more.
Yes, absolutely. And it's really important for females that are adopting EVs that the charging of those EVs is done so in a safe place. And so being able to charge at home, clearly a lot safer than having to do so on the public charging network. I also think that if you're a female who works in business and has to travel with work and you're staying in hotels, again, you will find that the EV charger is put at the back of the car park miles away from the hotel under shaky light that's not very great. And having to then scan codes and set up apps to then charge the car is really, really inconvenient. So being able to charge at home is really important, and making sure that you have a car that has a good range for whatever commuting and travelling you're doing is really, really key.
That's a really insightful message, and thank you for telling us about that.
It's not only more convenient, but it also saves time, and time is money these days.
Time is money. And you talk about time there, but actually one of the great time-saving aspects of having an electric vehicle is, particularly in winter, when you wake up in the morning, you can set pre-entry climate control. So you get up in the morning, you don't have to scrape and de-ice a car. You're ready to go. Your car is warm at the temperature that you want it to be at, and your screen is demisted and you're ready to set off. So being able to get up in the morning, ready to go to work, and my car is all ready to go, nice and toasty, all de-iced, and not having to stand outside in the cold and do that is really possibly one of the best benefits of taking an EV.
Fabulous.
Yeah, hidden benefit.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you so much for being on Next Time Around, Michelle. It's been fantastic to have you here, and I feel like we've all learnt a lot, and we hope that the listeners have too.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Next Time Around. We've really enjoyed discussing the future electric home and the tech that is needed to drive these changes forward. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn. Just search Powerverse, or share it with somebody who you think might find it interesting and helpful. To find out more about our software, visit our website www.powerverse.com. Thank you for listening. Until next time.